It's Valentine! All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode of McKeithan Valentine's Show. Today, I'm joined by the legends in HD Satellite, Mr. Grant Carlson and Jared Danish. Super happy.
Danish.
You look tasty. Looking filled out the shirt and everything.
So how did you come up with the name?
McKeithan Valentine Show? Yeah. Was creativity, man.
I love it.
It's my strongest suit.
I love it.
But yeah, no, super happy to have the legends here themselves, and got a couple questions for all the guys who are going to be going out and selling this year, and they have the answers. So
I hope so.
Maybe just introduce you guys yourselves real quick, kind of your origin story, where you came from, how you got involved in selling dish.
Sure, I'll start off. So Grant Carlson, I've been doing this a long time now, and it's kind of fun right now to do this because we're right at the beginning of the summer of our summer season, and there's so many guys excited to go out. So we're excited to be here to hopefully share some insight and little nuggets of knowledge that may help each of you guys.
When you said that, I just got so excited.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
that's right. I'm a motivator. Right? So no, this will be I started my very first summer was 2003.
Oh,
So
wow.
I got recruited in 2002. My first summer was 2003. I got recruited to do alarms by a bunch of guys who were selling for Apex.
Dude, that's like before a lot of these guys were born.
I know. So hopefully I have some good knowledge here. But so I was recruited to go to Philadelphia to sell, where I just served my mission. So I was excited to actually go back. And I got recruiting, and I recruited 22 people. And they said, "Hey, why don't you just run your own team?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Okay." So they had me run a team in Denver my first year, and then I moved up quickly because it was a startup company. So I did alarms for about 10 years. But in that time of doing alarms, I met Jared in 2009, end of 2009. And I'll let you kind of pick up where we started working together there.
Yeah, so my first year, I avoided summer sales because in Utah County, it's like,
Everybody's doing it.
only if you're cool, and you have flat brim hat. And
Okay.
yeah, so I avoided, like, I'm too good for that,
Yeah.
I have a house, why would I ever go sell because I got a
I
house?
don't want to be a sales girl.
But the day after I graduate college, guess where I went? Start of the summer.
Okay.
So kind of opposite than some of these guys, but went out and sold actually a different product, kind of a guinea pig. Recruited a bunch of guys and ran my own team my first year too.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that stress of having no experience and just supposed to show people how to do it.
Yeah.
So that's how we both,
Kind of forged by fire.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's how it was. But the product actually sucked, but there was one part of the product that was good. It was a bundle we were doing, and that was satellite.
Okay.
So my first year was Dish
Hmm.
and a satellite. So did that, and then after that year, all the cool guys were selling alarms. So I wanted to go check out alarms, and that's when I met Grant that next year. So Grant was a regional manager, and I jumped in there and sold alarms that first year, and actually found out my wife actually sold back in like 2001.
Oh, wow.
Alarms.
Okay.
So the whole time she's like, "You couldn't do it." What? So I kind of took that as a challenge years later, and went out and sold alarms. And dude, her stories of like vans, like guys just emptying out the vans and just hitting the streets at the same time as her. I'm like, dude, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, that's what. So I got into alarms, worked together for 3 years. It was awesome. Made a lot of money in that time, but I love it, dude. Something about satellite. There was a difference between selling like alarms and when you're always adding a bill to somebody
Mm-hmm.
versus when I was doing satellite. I walked away from every deal with saving people money,
Yeah.
and that was just a good feeling, man. So I remember even bringing that up to him, and I was like, "Yeah, satellite, man, that was fun."
Yeah.
Well, I got a call back that satellite was paying a little bit better than they used to, and some guys were actually making pretty good money.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I'm going to try it out again. So went back and ended up going back to satellite after 3 years of alarms and loved it and had a great year, built a region. And at the end of that summer, I ran into Grant at a car wash. I see him driving his Jaguar, and I'm like, that's a nice car. But I remember talking to him and saying, "Hey, Grant, I actually made more money in satellite than I ever did in alarms." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, we ought to build something."
I was blown away because you have to understand, Jared was one of the top guys in alarms.
Mm-hmm.
So he was making really good money.
Mm-hmm.
So when he told me he made more, I was like, what? And he's built a region in 1 year.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you cannot do that in alarms. You cannot do that in other products. You're not building a region in a year. So there was something to it. I was super intrigued, and I was ready to leave alarms because the difficulty of how it got recruiting new people to sell, as you know, right? How many first year guys can actually make a good living selling alarms? It's hard. So I was intrigued when you brought this up to me. That's kind of what started that whole conversation. It's perfect timing really for both of us. For it to work out.
That's when we started HD Satellite. That was a decade ago. So we have 10 full years HD Satellite, man, running. So it's been awesome. We've seen all kinds of offices and managers and different styles and guys that have killed it, guys that have struggled, so it's been fun to like see it all and see it. So that's where we're at. We still haven't figured out what we're gonna do when we grow up. But
just living the dream, big kids.
Yeah,
that's what I want to be. Cool. Well, yeah, I have a ton of questions for you guys, just in how to have success, how the dish opportunity is so different, why guys will have more success doing this versus maybe in other ventures. Maybe you guys can talk real quick though about just, I don't know, in these last few years, what have you seen in the change in the dish opportunity? Why is the dish opportunity better now than it has been in previous years and looking forward? Why is this the place that guys need to be? Because when we hear like, oh, you sell satellite, like, oh, you sell dish, like, oh, you're like, that isn't that like a dying industry? That's so lame. But like, that's not really what it is. And so maybe we can just like enlighten our brains.
Had that conversation yesterday. Isn't dish dying? Yep.
Yeah.
But not us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we look back and we see a lot of changes that have happened in the space itself. So like Jared's saying, you tell someone you're selling dish and they're thinking, who's buying Dish Network? You have to understand, I think the thing that really separates the dish opportunity is the niche, the market that we own in the space is so unique to the door-to-door summer type sale. So you think of the other products that are out there, think of pest control, for example. How many companies are selling pest control out of not only Utah, but then locally when you get there? So when you're on the doors, how much competition do you have, right? So you think of those type of things that lowers your chance of having success.
A little plug, we started a pest company for 3 years and found out that very thing that you said.
Yeah, take a step back. Let's actually cover that real quick because we started a pest control company from scratch in 2017. And in Louisiana, because we were losing guys to pest control, because pest control made this resurgence. And so we thought, man, we're losing guys that want to work with us, so let's start our own pests and see what it's all about. And it took us 3 years to figure out that it was not something we were interested in long term.
And why not?
There's a lot of factors. I mean, a lot of it was just paying guys like we wanted them to get paid, and then building a company. It was very hard to do when we were recruiting close friends of ours to make the amount of money. And then we saw how most companies do it, how they actually survive by getting first year guys to come out, and they hope a lot of them quit and they make a lot of money off those guys. We didn't like that model of it. And we didn't like the customer base. It was so easy come, easy go customer base that the guys just lost sales out of their control. Didn't even matter pricing. So we learned a ton of lessons with that.
Well, in addition, just you've got to think, remember how I said that it's alarms, like we're saving people money? Door-to-door pest companies, they're charging more than anybody.
And your goal is to like charge, like how much can I charge this person? So
a lot of companies will say, hey, our contract value average is like $1,000. Like, dang, man, if you go sell my grandma, I'm gonna be ticked.
Yeah.
You're ripping my grandma off. You know what I mean? They're like, no, justify it, whatever. Our stuff is better than everyone else's. Like, we all went to the same place to get the same stuff.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm paying $200 a year. So I just call a guy, local guy. So that was hard to put people in contracts, and just the only way to justify it and pay our guys really good for them to make money is to manage the customers. It's not the model we really thought was liked. We liked.
So yeah, nothing wrong with pests. We learned a lot about it. We had zero interest, so we sold it to a company down in the south, and then went right back into full steam dish. In fact, when we were selling pests, we had guys selling satellite in the exact same city in Baton Rouge, and we would look at the weekly checks, and they were double and triple the guys being paid making on satellite compared to the pest guys. And we're kind of thinking we're doing these guys a disservice by not having them sell satellite because we'd be making more money.
Yeah,
and that was a big eye opener for us too. But kind of full circling it back to the dish opportunity. That's one of the things. It's one of those products that's so unique because you're not incentivized to gouge the customer price. I think it's the only one that's out there door to door where you're not actually either adding a bill or trying to upsell them to the point because your commission depends on it, right? There's so few factors. So it makes the ease of the sale better for the sales rep because then they can actually have an opportunity where they're offering the best possible deal to the customer in the market space alone. For example, we go to sell a Dish customer and they're like, well, I want to call Dish and see what kind of deals they have. They're the exact same. In fact, there's a few things that we can do that even Dish corporate can't do. If they call in, like buying off contracts, they'll cover those kind of things. Having a nationwide tech footprint, those are huge benefits for us. So the time is perfect for Dish because the markets we're hitting is rural America. It's people who are already paying for a satellite TV subscription, and we're lowering their bill. So it makes perfect sense. And guess how many people, you've done it, how many people do you run into on the door selling Dish Network?
Nobody.
we have that cornerstone in the marketplace where someone else wants to come start up a door-to-door with Dish Network, they're sending them to us saying, you need to go through this channel. So we're never going to have a bunch of competition out there that we're competing selling the same product, which is so unique in this space.
Well, and there's some few things that we've narrowed down to make it easier to sell to than ever before. So you guys all know what those things are, but we're really able to figure out what the best market is, where to go, and how to go and have the best success. It's all about working smarter rather than harder. Yeah. So I think we fine-tuned that over a decade, right? So we've got that figured out. So
yeah, definitely.
So the Dish opportunity is alive and well, and we don't see anything changing in the immediate future. So we love that there's the Dish is behind us. They want us to grow. They want us to push them, and more markets are now opening up for us with sports stuff too, which is such a big thing this year. So those were some things that were challenges in the past, and now those challenges have been overcome, and so it opens up a whole bunch of markets where we've been for a while, and guys should have really good success this year in those markets specifically.
So should a first year rep, this is his first time coming out, should he feel confident in the product that he is selling to these customers?
100%. And you have to think, one of the hardest things going out on doing a door-to-door product is having a reputation with your company of who they are. Are they well known? Like if you were going to sell Nike shoes in the door, you bring up Nike, everyone's heard of Nike. Yeah. You think that there's a company here called Kizik, I see a billboard. You go sell those door to door, how many people have heard of Kizik?
No,
right? So you're trying to sell multiple things on the door. So this is a product that it sells itself. It's a practical sale. It's dollars and cents for the customers. You're almost always lowering their bills, saving them money. Dollars and cents. It makes complete sense. So if a guy is debating on what he wants to do, like this, I think this is the highest percentage chance he's going to have success and even finish the summer, let alone make the money he wants to make. Yeah. But we're seeing guys come out with zero experience, fresh out of high school, come from some pretty crazy backgrounds, who are making 20 to 60 grand their first summer. That's just unheard of. Like we've done other products, you just don't see that. And as much as people say that, you have to show me proof. We can show you the proof. We can show you the guys 1099. We can show you prove these numbers. Most companies will never do that. They never want to show specifics like that. Not all, but most of them. So.
Yeah. What are the things that those reps are doing? Those ones that are coming out that first year and they're making those big numbers. What are the things that maybe separates them versus like a standard rep that makes like kind of the average? I guess what's the difference between the average rep and the above average rep?
Well, I think with any job, right, you've got to, work can be drudgery, right, a little bit. If you're just going to work every day and you don't have any goals, that's why I love sales is, especially when you're very commission-based, rather than, you're just a salary and you get little things here and there. You get to decide how much you're going to make. So I think what makes the difference between someone that just crushes it or someone that's just trying to get by is they have a vision. They have like a goal, like a real goal, and it's connected to if their financial goal is connected to maybe their why. We call it their why, right? So, for example, let's say we have a lot of guys that probably like to exercise and lean up for the summer to look good for the girls and stuff, right? Yeah. 6 packs and all that.
Shredded.
Problem is, in those small towns, there's a lot of gas station food. So you get those guys that, they're like, okay, I'm going to start eating clean. eating clean isn't that fun. It doesn't taste that great. It's a little bit of a grind.
Get headaches.
Yeah. But you know what? When it actually becomes like okay, you can deal with it and you actually like it a little bit, is when you start to see some gains. You like start to see some leaning out a little bit, or you start to see, when you're working out, you're feeling a little bigger and strong, and you're like, okay. So when you go back to that next meal, you're eating your green beans and your brown rice, like there's no problem, because I know what it's doing for me. My end goal is to do this. The same with sales. If I was just eating like that and I wasn't going to gain anything or lean out a little bit, that would be terrible. I'm just eating bad food for nothing.
Yeah.
Or bland food, right? So the same with sales. If you're out there and you have a goal and like, this is what I want to achieve and this is my why, and you start to see your gains, okay, I'm starting to achieve my goal, I'm starting to make ground, dude, then it becomes very motivating. So then you go out the next day, like 3 deals today is going to add to that number, that's going to get me to that goal, and I'm starting to see I'm getting better. I'm starting to see like I'm overcoming objections that the first 3 weeks of the summer I lost every time. But now I can overcome it, and all of a sudden you're seeing yourself like, that objection doesn't do anything for me. I can get over it every time. Those are gains that you see. And so when you start to see the gains, it actually becomes quite a better experience. So if a new guy that goes and makes 60 grand, which we saw a number of them, they're driven by something. They've got their why, they've got their goal, and they've broken it down to a daily situation to where they're like every day is adding to that goal, that end goal. Like every chicken breast, every brown rice, it's getting that. And so I think that's what makes a big difference. And so let me bring it back to maybe, I don't know if you want to talk about like consistency maybe at that point, or
yeah, let's talk about consistency. Why, I don't know, because some guys, they start off really hot or they do good for a period of time and then they fall off, they get into slumps. We all know about like the sales slumps and how terrible they are, but like how can we be consistent in our daily efforts and like I guess the marginal gains that come from that.
Okay, so this is an important thing. You were at the Gators game.
Heck yeah.
National championship
Go
game.
Gators, yeah.
Good for you, man, dude.
We're jealous. We're jealous.
Jealous. Don't be way Cougar fans, but dude, watch out next year. We're coming. We're coming.
That's what you say.
You know who's coming, right?
Says.
Back-to-back national championships for the Gators.
Could be, but we got number one recruit coming.
Yep, number one recruit. So something interesting about basketball, which is kind of crazy. Basketball as a game of runs, really is. Like you can tangibly feel the run going on, or the momentum, right? So if a team's down by 10, and then all of a sudden they hit a 3, they get a steal, and they make a layup, they're down by 5. But guess which fans are cheering? The one up by 5 or the one that just made the 5-point swing? Dude, and you can feel it. You're like, crap. You're up by 5, but you feel like you're losing. That's a real thing. But here's the problem with sales guys. They get in there, it gets into their head when they start to see momentum swings, and they don't know how to overcome it. Basketball, it's easy. It's like timeout. Coach calls them, hey guys, it's all right. We can regroup. We can get through this. Sales, they'll see maybe the other guys selling on the group me 3, 4, and they've got 0 so far. And so their problem is their goal is now 4. Because I got to get 4 to catch up to him, or otherwise I'm worthless. So here's my one advice when it comes to that, is to focus on the possession. So when you come down that next, don't shoot up a stupid 3, that you were covered and you were off balance, but every single possession, one at a time, go make a stop, they come back and run the play, get one more shot in, and that always ends up equaling out at the end. So let's say I get down by 4 sales, and I'm like, crap, Kyle Tillman's up on me 4-0, and I'm in a competition with them. And I'm like, I gotta get 4. That's the wrong mentality. What you need to do is you need to go into grandma's house, and you're focused 100% on that possession. And if your goal is 1, you're going to get 1. And then you're when you get out of that house, you're like, okay, my new goal is 1 again. But I'm going to do it within an hour and a half. So you set a time limit, you say, I'm going to get 1. And by the end of the day, you're going to end up getting to your goal if you focus on the 1. Here's what happens if you're in that grandma's house and you're like, I got to get 4. you're like, oh, this is a lay down, okay? And I'm now thinking about the next deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going through things, and because I haven't been fully focused on that sale, all of a sudden she's like, this is kind of hard. Can I think about it? And before you know it, you lost the lay down because you were focused on how far behind you were.
You weren't present.
You weren't present. So I'd say if you want to be consistent every day and not have huge days and bad days, but you want to be really consistent, is your goal should be one every hour and a half. Let's say I didn't get a deal within an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
What's your new goal for the next hour and a half? It's one.
Yeah.
It's not two, it's one. And I think if you're always present, you'll see that you'll have a very consistent summer.
Mm-hmm.
Your emotions aren't like this and this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, guys that ride emotions, I don't see consistency.
Mm-hmm.
But guys that are consistent and, you're invested on just focusing on being present, they do really well.
Yeah.
They do really well.
We talk about a principle quite a bit in the office where, so what, you gave it your all today, but the stars just did not align.
Yeah.
Like, you worked really hard, but that day, for whatever reason, you were the bug. Some days you're the bug, other days you're the windshield. And some days you don't deserve your success, but other days you don't deserve your failure. But if you go out every single day and you're just consistent, putting in that good effort, you're making those goals, you're taking care of each individual customer in the way that they deserve to be taken care of, then you don't have to worry. In the long run, those bad days and good days, they'll average out. And something that Colt loves to say is the goddess of good luck favors the man of action. And so if you just work hard that day, you knock a door after 8:30, even if you don't get anything after 8:30, at that 8:30 knock, guess what? The next day, you're definitely going to get rewarded with that, with just extra ones. It's crazy how effort just gets rewarded.
Not to beat a dead horse, but going back to the timeout.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I would train guys that were struggling in the summer and they'd come watch me, the number one thing they'd get out of it is like, dude, you get your butt kicked just like me. I'm like, yeah. So what's the difference? I do take timeouts. When I take a timeout, what I mean by that is I just create the mental energy. I'll watch a little video from Balboa. I've sent everybody that video at one point when they're struggling. It's not about how hard you can hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, right? Yeah. So I'll take that little mental time out and I'll do a little self-talk, like, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, or people like me, I like myself. You got to do that. Yeah. And you probably are going to be doing it a few times a day if you're like really motivated to get that goal.
And you're doing it all summer, right?
Yeah.
Even the best guys are going to have a bad day.
Yep.
So it's just how you respond to adversity in the summer. I think if you ask any guy last summer, it'll be very similar. Mm-hmm. They all are competitive. Mm-hmm. They all have some kind of competitive drive in them that pushes them. Because I think my first summer, and I was like dead set. There's not people that are going to beat me. And if there are, it's going to be a battle. Yeah. So I just made that choice early on that I was going to do what others are not willing to do. Mm. So I was willing to go stay out later. I was willing to get that last deal, knock a door at 9:45 because the light's still on, right? Yeah. So I was willing to do those things. And I think if you talk to all these guys, it'll be very similar. And their response to adversity was to be able to shake it off and move forward quickly.
And get that mindset. Gator mentality. Texas Tech, they should have lost to Texas. Houston, they should have lost to Houston. Gator mentality, man. That's a real thing.
Resilient grit.
Yeah, they've got that grit. They've got that something that just extra sauce that just pushes them past other people. Mm-hmm. And people always wonder, what are you doing? They just outwork you. They're willing to do more than you were willing to do. And that's the difference. So if you're willing to do that too, your chance to succeed is going to go up.
And how much do these skills transfer into just life in general? Not just for door-to-door sales, but for every single opportunity that you'll have in your life, and in marriage and family and working out and taking care of your health and other business opportunities. Just like these skills are so transferable, and there's no better time to learn it than this. It really is like a pot, but a furnace that pushes you, it cooks you under that pressure, and it refines you, right?
You were the best manager before you left. You were top manager.
Yeah,
got that award. You got that award, and then you went on a mission.
Yeah.
Did it do anything for you?
Yeah.
Did it help on your mission?
Yeah, definitely.
Leadership skills.
I was able to help those people who were struggling, just lead by example, and being at like communication too, the ability to talk about things that are important to people, make them feel important and cared for. Lead teams, like your whole life you're going to be doing these skills, and it is the coolest job in the world for that reason. Like there's no better thing. Like that's why when they said I would be like corporate trainer or whatever, I was like, that's cool. I can like sit in an office and that'd be fun. But there's just something like inside of me like, no, you got to get out there. Like it's so much more fun. When you're out there and you just learn.
That's what training is,
Yeah.
Train by example, right?
Yeah.
What about when you had a hard day on your mission?
You're full of hard days. You just keep going. Just do it anyways.
Did this help with any of that?
I've had all the hard days in the world doing this job, but it's like I know how to deal with hard days now because of that.
And when you're married, you're gonna have hard days.
Yeah.
Having a job,
Raising kids,
hard days,
challenges. If I was to plug anyone even looking at doing this, because I think we get guys that come out and they're not going to go to school, or some guys are going to school at the same time, going to college. And we both graduated, we got our 4-year degree, and I value that. I feel like there's tons of value for me in that, even though granted I didn't use that degree for what we do specifically. But I think in 4 months of the summer, you get a PhD in sales and in life that you would not get at other places, because the aspect of working within a team and a group in this type of environment, and there's pressures there that you wouldn't receive in another job, another work environment, that you adapt to and that you evolve and become this problem solver. And that's ultimately what it is. You become the master of solving problems, whether it's for a customer or for yourself in your life. And when those challenges come up in life, and you've got a kid that's giving you, raising hell for you, and you're trying to like coach them through it. They're trying to sell you on ideas. You're like, I see what you're doing. You can reverse it on. You can use those skills to benefit you and others. And I think that's the most valuable thing that comes, because if you're good at this job, you're going to make money, and that'll help. But the skills you learn absolutely will translate into everything else they do, and you'll do it second nature. You won't even think about it, and you're doing it, and people will notice and like, dude, that was actually really impressive what you did. I'm like, oh, I guess I learned that in the summer, sitting down on sofas with the nicest people in America, helping them lower their TV bill, and I learned all these skills from it. So you don't think about it along the way, but man, looking back now, crazy how much help it has brought into our lives to hopefully benefit others, right?
Well, you learn integrity too. I think it's a big one. Because nobody's watching you. You can make up stuff in life you want to. That'll get you in trouble eventually, but only you'll know usually. So I think that's a valuable thing, is to like build integrity and make that a focal point of your summer as well. It's like, I want to be a man full of integrity. I know there's some guys out there, like I think of that one particular Asari, reaching out to me and told me a scenario, and I was like, he felt like he should not go through with this deal because of the situation. I'm like, good for you, man. I'm like, you won't regret walking away from a deal because you need to be honest about it. I'm like, good for you. And I guarantee you, in the long run, he's gonna achieve way more because of that integrity from walking away from a few things.
And he has.
And he has, dude.
Yeah.
So I look up to that kid. Sorry, man. Good on him. So.
And that's one of the most enjoyable things for us to see, is when people grasp those principles and concepts, and it makes us feel like we're doing something right? And maybe we didn't have anything to do with it, but it's the vehicle that allows them to learn those skills, and it's just so cool to see when you get people that advance and excel, and then they teach others to do the same thing, right? That's just such a cool thing to witness.
I think you hit on something really cool there, which is that a lot of guys, they look at the ones who have the titles of like manager and regional or whatever it is, and they look at them as like they are like the end all be all. And they do have there's a pedestal, a mantle that they have to carry, those managers. But I think any single rep can be a leader within their office just by being humble, by being positive, by being willing to work hard. Like my favorite offices that I've been a part of, it wasn't because like the manager was just like amazing. It was because like the guy who, he went out and he had a really tough day, but he came back and he had a positive attitude and he wanted to learn and grow. And then the next day he went out and he killed it and he bounced back. Like that was honestly more inspiring to me. And so like every single person in these offices, if you're a new guy, if you're a first year guy, second year guy, if you don't have any recruiters, or if you have a whole team, like everybody always looks to you. It's just important that you always be your true self, try to be your best. I think that's what's so cool about this job is everybody's just trying to learn and grow and improve together. Like it's like a really cool environment. You don't really see that in the rest of the world.
Very well said.
I kind of want to go through the sales process real quick. And we can talk a little bit about some of those things, maybe like over promising and under delivering as well. Sure. But what are the most important steps of the sales pitch and of the sales process that guys need to really get down like that?
We'll get started and transition with you. And sure. So I mean, let's just start with something basic like the door approach. So you definitely want to set expectations, right? And you have to have the right product to do that. Because we've sold other products where customers may not know the name of the product, or there's a lot of building value and building credibility and trust with the customer. With this, you don't have to do that as much because everyone's heard of Dish. So when you get on the doorstep, you want to avoid things that detract from those few minutes you have to buy their trust, right? So for example, if you show up and you just look like you roll out of bed, it may be a detraction for that person to take you seriously. So you want to look professional. You don't have to be perfect. I mean, we've seen people go out and have mullets and big mustaches and beards, and that is not as important. But you do want to think if it's detracting from you, you want to eliminate some of those things. So the door approach is the most important thing is to be honest and be upfront. That's what customers want. They don't want any surprises. So it's very important that you go through the right steps in the process of setting the expectation with customers. And if they ask you a direct question, just answer it directly and then transition on. You know? And that's people will respect that. They like transparency. You don't have to show up in the door and be like, I'm with Dish Network. Do you want to switch? You know, it doesn't have to be something that dramatic. But we want to teach guys girls to understand there's a right and wrong way to do things, and you can actually we can find out pretty quickly because customers will start to complain about certain aspects of the sale. So the door approach is a very important part, and you'll do correlation meetings every day in the summer to master this process, and then it's the transition inside the house. And what's your most favorite famous phrase you like to say?
Getting in houses and sitting on couches.
Getting in houses and sitting on couches. Because that's all you're doing. With other products, you'd actually do walkthroughs around the house sometimes or inside the house and check things out. With this, you're just going to go sit in their sofa while they're eating their TV dinner and watching the news or Fox News or whatever they're watching at the time. You're going to be sitting there with their family as they're enjoying their evening, and you have an opportunity to then build value there. So really the important thing is to get inside the house, sit down on their sofa, start talking about the shows they like to watch, and then it becomes dollars and cents. And then you talked about going into setting expectations right with the customer, because the hardest thing with a sales job, especially door to door, is if you do everything you can to get a sale. Some of them are extremely difficult. I mean, what's the longest time you had to sit with a customer to get a sale with any product?
Like an hour and a half.
I had some that were probably 2 hours.
Yeah.
Hard sales, and then if that customer cancels, I'm just heartbroken.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like what did I do? And a lot of times you'll find out it was nothing that you did specifically, but it was something out of your control. That's the hardest thing, to lose a sale like that. But there's things that we can do. I'll hand over to Jared. There's things that we can do to prevent some of those things that are out of our control. From losing the customer's trust.
Well, one thing that'll keep people from keeping the service is when a Dish fan rolls up and they're like, wait, I thought I was keeping DirecTV.
Yeah.
I know we laugh about it, but it's happened a number of times. And I think Noah said it once at our manager training. He usually really uses the word Dish Network, right? Rather than just Dish. You know, because Dish, they might confuse it with DirecTV. So you're a new customer, because you're an old customer with DirecTV, you won't be getting any new discounts. So we'll set you up as a new customer with Dish Network. That way you get all the new discounts and promotions and free equipment. Does that make sense? So we're still going to get the channels. Make sure you have the same channels. Which channels are your favorite channels again? I'm looking, and they're saying off the channel. So if they answer that channel, then they're okay with the idea of switching to Dish Network. I'd say don't be afraid of Dish Network. Sometimes I'll bring it up in the middle of nowhere. I'll just right even on the door. I'm like, how long have you had DirecTV? They're like, about 3 years. I'm like, oh, okay. Who did you have before that? And if they say Dish Network, I'm like, oh, okay, did you switch to save money? They're like, yeah, actually, that's why. I'm like, smart man. So I won't bring up right away that I'm with Dish. I'll be like, yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. We're getting people back on lower prices, see if we can save you some money. But you're a smart guy. Nobody needs to be paying a lot for TV. What are you guys paying right now? Brings up that conversation. I'm like, yeah, so let me see if I can get you back on a new customer promotion again with Dish Network. So you've had it 3 years. You're only in agreement for 2 years. And if someone says, oh, I hated Dish Network. Okay, oh, why'd you hate it? They'll tell me right there, and I get to deal with it right then and there, and just talk about, and the idea is not to say one company is so much better than the other company, because I think people get defensive about that. So I just say, really, I like both companies. They're both great products, great service, great television, whatever, but most people don't care who they have. They just don't want to be paying $150 for TV like you're paying. Like, oh yeah, I don't want to pay TV. So let me see if I can get you a better deal. That's all. So kind of just don't be afraid of using Dish Network. If you got to deal with any objections, you deal with them. I'll bring it up usually when I get in the house. I like to say I'm with HD Satellite because you are, or some guys like using the brand Caliber, the parent company. Either one's totally cool. But I'm with HD Satellite. We're getting people back on new customer promotions. How many TVs do you have at the DirecTV? They'll tell me, and then I'll get in, and then I'll bring up. Then I'll go over and I'll look at it. Like that's when I talk about old equipment, new equipment. Talk about being kind of a consultant trying to get grandma on a better deal. So I think if a sales rep has the mentality, they're not just trying to sell people, they're trying to put grandma in a better position than they're in. Think of it like your own grandma. If you walked in the house, you'd be like, Grandma, how much are you paying for TV? And you see how much it is. You're like, dang, do you think that's a lot, Grandma? Yeah, it's a lot of money. Well, I think that's a lot of money too. I'm like, why don't you get a better deal? I can't. Okay, well, let me show you what the options are, and then you can show them Dish. Let's see, what channels do you like, Grandma? Let's go down the channels. Look, same thing, $120. Is that better than $160? Oh yeah, I would love that. I'm like, don't worry, that's actually why we're here. We'll set you, our technician's with us. He'll be here. He's setting up 22 neighbors tomorrow because people don't like paying what they're paying. In fact, Betty, go down the list. Oh yeah, okay. So, sorry, I'm getting lost on this a little bit.
No, I think what you're saying is basically you have to set the expectations right with the customers. I think that our highest volume of cancellations come from the Dish trip rolling up and the customer not understanding they were switching, which just blows my mind because you're telling them to cancel DirecTV before you leave. You're giving them the number to call or whoever they had previously. And so that's one of the biggest pitfalls is not being clear with the customer. So you have to think, the customer trusts you at the point of sale. If there's anything that comes up after you leave that wasn't accurate in their mind, they think, well, what else was that person not straightforward with me on?
Oh, they think that salesman lied to me.
They think that they got lied to, right? Or the tech shows up and you've promised them something that the tech can't fulfill, and they said, this tech's like, well, no, that's not accurate. And then they're like, he lied to me. And then they're calling or just canceling right on the spot. So we're trying to avoid a few of those things. To give you just a few examples. So one is obviously not being clear with with who you're switching to. Another pretty common one, it seems silly, the location of the dish, right? So you say, oh, they can put it right there, no problem. People are like, oh, I just want it right there. Like, so you have to be careful with what you promise because you don't know exactly what line of sight will be and stuff like that. That's something that you could lose a sale over. The time when the tech comes.
We're swapping out, like we're just going to switch the receivers out, switch the dish out, and everything's good. Actually, you're probably going to run a wire. Probably going to run wires. There's going to be a little bit more work that doesn't have the same mask, So I would just say, the tech knows more than me. He'll just make sure you have the best service, but it is a simple install. I mean, direct to dish is a very easy install. Just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, they won't have to lift a finger. Another one is the techs in some areas try to upsell products because they offer some products like sound bars and doorbells. I mean, there's things they can sell, and a lot of them are required to do a certain amount. And so if you prep the customer, that, hey, yes, I've told you free installation, free all this stuff, but then the tech comes over and he's trying to sell them stuff. They're like, well, no, he told me everything was free. They just feel like, okay, well, what else is there? Now I've got to pay for all those things. Then I've got to get a pole mount put in. It's going to cost me $50 if that's the case. I don't know. But if you can avoid those things by just letting the customer know in advance, hey, the techs, they have some really cool stuff to offer. You're not obligated to buy anything, but they'll probably offer it to you. So if you find value in it, feel free to take advantage of the deal because it is a really good deal.
Yeah.
In fact, I did. I just did it on my house. I just upgraded the tech that came over from Dish, and bought a sound bar and a speaker and surround sound thing. It was really cool. It was cool actually watching it as a consumer.
Yeah.
And also I did it because it's good karma for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm buying from my supplier. So really, you're just trying to avoid anything that would make the customer feel like you were straightforward.
Let me add one more on there.
Yeah.
It's install times.
Yes.
You ever get a call from a customer because your tech hasn't showed up?
Yeah.
That was your fault. Because, well, not always, but but if you go and you're like, morning or afternoon work better, and they're like, afternoon. Okay, like, all right, we give you, there's a 4-hour window, so we'll do 12 to 4. And they usually try to fit 2 jobs within there.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be the first or the second, so I really can't tell you, but they'll kind of email you and update you along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of leave it at that, so it's 4 hours. But if you say 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, the tech will be here because you said you saw 12 to 4.
Yeah.
If you say that at 12:10, they're going to be calling. Where's the tech? Dude, then it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, and the guy's like, I'm on a job. I just started.
Yeah.
So I found that there's not an issue with giving people big windows, and like they will update you through email on the way, and sometimes a phone call too.
Mm-hmm.
Let you know, but if you under promise and over deliver, it's a better experience for the tech, no question, for the customer too. So
And for the rep.
and for the rep,
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe you guys can talk real quick just about the DirecTV Dish merger. I think that was going to happen in the past, but just so we can get clear, what is going on with that?
That's a big one. So we hear a lot about that from Dish corporate actually. Hey, these guys are on blitz, and we're still hearing this feedback that they're required to switch, which obviously is not the case. So DirecTV and Dish, they had announced that they were going to merge and they were going to be acquired and be one company. It fell apart. But what we do kind of understand is that at some point it will line up that the two of them will come together. At some point, we don't know when that's going to be. When it is announced, it'll be a year, if not more, that'll even take place. But you have to be careful with setting that expectation with the customer. Is that they're not required to switch. They're not merging for sure, like right at the moment. But just be clear with the customer. Hey, it's at some point they could. So you're being proactive because once they do announce it, then yes, you'll be kind of locked in at your price once the two become one company. So we're trying to get you on new customer pricing and make sure you guys have the best possible setup as a consumer. So you have to be real careful with it.
Yeah, the techs are more quick at reporting that than anything else.
Yeah.
Like the reps are saying that again, so be careful. Don't say they're merging. So.
You don't want to lose sales. Like you just do not want to lose a sale over something really silly that you can be very clear about and make sure that customer's a solid customer. You want your customers to trust you because and that should translate to every relationship you have. Use your sales skills to build trust and build a relationship with a person. You don't use it to manipulate and to get what you want. Right? You're trying to actually help both sides and have a benefit for both sides. And then that's a mutual friendship, relationships where both parties benefit.
Life's about relationships.
100%. Exactly.
Okay, well, I got one more question, and then we'll have final closing thoughts. But this is more for managers, guys who are going to be running correlations, even guys who are looking to be in leadership spots or who are just leaders in general. Kind of what is that daily correlation checklist, or what are the things what are the common themes of successful offices that you have seen? What are the things that the managers are doing? How can, for a manager or for an office who really wants to excel, what are the things that they need to be doing? What are the things that set them apart?
I'd say one of them that I noticed that a lot of offices got away from last year is visual goal boards, right? Or in Airbnbs and stuff like that. But being able to have that goal board and visualize and just taking advantage of what you can do with it and be unique and strategize, whatever you want to do, but have a visual goal board that people are looking at every day. Something about seeing it, right? And you've done it, seeing where people are at. And I'd say take advantage of that. So start your meetings out. A lot of guys clap it in. There's different ways that they do it. Everyone's got their ways that they get their goals. And make it a bigger deal. Make guys get excited when they have a good day and they've had bad days before. Like, what's the difference? What happened? why do you feel like you had better success today? What did you do different than you did the other 2 days? And with those guys that are struggling, help them see it and talk it out themselves. And I'd have more guys speaking than you doing all the talking, so having them share their experiences on the doors and how they overcame objections. And I had this objection. How'd you overcome it? I said this, and I talked about Betty next door and how she liked it because of this. And so by using all the brains, and especially the guys that are having success, even the ones that weren't before, sharing those things, and it's good for them. It keeps everyone engaged rather than being in a boring training meeting where someone's just talking the whole time. So I think that's valuable. I would plan on, because sometimes you don't have to have a training plan, but if you can you'll find the needs of what we need by having people talk about their day yesterday, and then maybe it's all centered on, I have that problem too. Yeah, I have that problem too. Well, guess what? I'm not training on closing today. I'm training on that objection today. So it's finding the needs of your group and adapting. So I know a lot of managers stress out, what am I going to train about tomorrow? But I think just talking goals, and then finding out what the needs are and how you can help the group, and then having a group mind on the best ways to overcome it. It's a good way to
love that.
If I can add to that too. So in any business you go into, you're going to be sitting in a lot of meetings, right? And no one wants to go to a meeting that they're going to go to, and they're just like they're just there because they have to be there. So you got this correlation meeting. It's a 20 to 40 minute opportunity daily for you to help these individuals as a manager get better at what they're doing. So you need to just keep a couple things in mind. So you need to have everyone come to those meetings hopefully excited to learn, excited for something new to learn. You want them inspired by something they heard in the meeting to push them to do better. And you got to have good content that creates an atmosphere of enthusiasm and everyone working together to help everyone improve. For example, one of the coolest things is when we visit offices is seeing you go to a meeting and they clap all their sales, and say someone's been struggling in that office for a few days and all of a sudden they sold 3. You can look at the excitement from the whole team clapping that one person, and that's what it's about, right? It's seeing the improvement of those individuals who you're kind of yoked together. Everyone's trying to improve. And yes, there's competition. You're looking across and like, I want to kill that guy today. I want to beat him. But there's still a family environment of unity and friendship and love, in a sense, that you're really just trying to like improve and get better. And so that's the goal of the meeting. So you don't want guys coming to the meeting who are like, I got to go to the meeting because it's so boring. That's a problem. If that's there, then you have to correct something. Even if it's a short meeting, just get them motivated and inspired, because then they'll leave that meeting ready to go do better. You don't want them dragging out the door like, that was the biggest waste of time. So it's your opportunity. And we talked about this a few minutes before we met up. It's leading from the front. If you're a leader, you have to lead from the front. When I manage 22 people and I'm telling them what to do and I've never even done it, I had to go work extra hard to build that trust in them, so they actually believed me when they saw me say, I'm willing to put your guys' success in front of mine. So if it's to help you close a sale, I'm walking out of a customer's house to drive to you to help you close that first sale of yours. Once they see that, they're yours for life. They're like, this guy went to bat for me. And that's the kind of relationship you need to build with each rep. And each rep is different. They have different needs. They have different skill sets. They have different motivation levels. You have to get to know them individually and find out what it is that drives them. And that's one of the hardest things as a manager, especially your first time doing it, is you have all these responsibilities and you're also trying to build those relationships naturally. But you have to do it in a loving way and in a true fashion, so they believe. So you're actually doing it for the right reason. That they will feel it and they will run the same term. They'll run through the wall for you because they just trust you as their leader. Those are the best offices. You look at the top offices, and the guys get glowing responses to their leadership and the environment that they built. It's your chance to build a company within a company. You have full autonomy to do whatever you want in that group meeting, and you're running the show. And utilize the best people in your group that help you motivate. Because we have some managers who aren't the best motivators. They're not like really outgoing personalities, but they can bounce off other people and get the job done. But they're phenomenal recruiters, they're phenomenal sellers and trainers. So you just balance it out, utilizing the leaders, the future leaders you have in your team, and just the role players who are so critical. Every piece is so critical to the office. So
I mean, I don't know, just a couple thoughts, like from visiting lots of offices I've seen. It's great when you end on a motivating note, right? Before guys make goals, maybe you show a little video at the end. But then when everyone goes back and showers after or starts eating, instead of going, I'd say you get that stuff done before, and then right when the office is over, it's not like, okay, who needs area? And then it's a 20-minute, and then everyone's going back to the room. I'd say if you could get that stuff done before, if you need area, you text everyone out. If you need new area, show me where you're at before the meeting. And then when you've got all that done, meeting's done, and it's like, okay, let's go to our cars together.
Yeah. I'd be willing to bet there's a positive correlation between the amount of time spent like in a meeting, like or the transition time between you finish correlation, you get out to the doors. Like we can cut that down as much as possible with your sales for the team. Like every single time I've seen it where those teams, they end up, those days are like the best days because it's just flows one into the other, and everybody, they take that positive momentum into the rest of their day. If
you have a 20 person team, you delay for 45 minutes to an hour getting out of the office, that's 20 hours knocking time. That's half of a week of a full-time job for one person you just robbed someone of.
Yeah.
Right? Their opportunity. And guess what? The guys who do 7 to 10 plus a day, they usually have a sale by 1 or 2.
Yeah.
At the latest, right?
Yeah.
So if you expect your reps to have a great opportunity to have big sales days, getting them on the doors at 3 o'clock is not going to help.
No.
So you have to look at it and say, listen, everyone's out here working hard. Let's utilize the time we have to make the most of it. So
you get out earlier. That's the thing. Is that more time on the doors, right?
Yeah.
If you're not in front of someone, you can't sell them, right?
Yeah.
You're not pulling the water, you can't catch the fish. I mean, earlier the better. If you want a team to crush it, be out a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Guys that are getting out, they don't knock in their first door till like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're like, dang, man.
Yeah.
Grandmas are home at 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
You don't have to get out then, but I mean,
can get a 14 day if you do.
Yeah.
Awesome. It has been a pleasure having both of you on. Do you have any final words, advice, a little pump-up speech for the guys before they get out there this year?
I'll start. So I was thinking back to my first summer, and I think one of the things that really separated me that first summer, as I look at the comparison with other people I was working around, was when I went to that first meeting. They did a little presentation, gave us some pizza, and showed us what these guys all made, and I thought, I can do this. And I'm committing, like once I saw it, and I'm like, you know what, this is for me. And I left my job, I worked at a bank, I was going to school, I was just married. I even paid for an apartment that we were already in the contract for to go out and do this. So I had actually really committed. I was like, I'm going to pay to go out and do this. And because I think because I committed so strongly right up front, I think it actually helped me so much more. And not to say that if you're wavering and you decide last second to come out, you're not going to have a good summer. But I think the minute you really kind of convince yourself and commit to do this work, oh man, it just helps you, because it's never a question there of like, did I make the wrong choice? It's no, I'm committed to this time, and I'm going to do everything I can within my power to maximize this opportunity. And that's what I did, right? And when I drove home from Denver that summer, I remember driving over, passing like Breckenridge and these mountains. It was beautiful. End of the summer, and I was so gratified just thinking about all the stuff, you know. And the things that bugged me were like the early sales I lost because I was just new, right? And I'm like, man, I walked away from so much money if I would have trained more early on, right? Yeah. Those are things that bugged me. But I look back and I committed and I fulfilled that commitment. And now, because I fulfilled that commitment, it's opened up so many other doors for me within this company that I'm so excited to build going from there. So I think that just the committing, once you're just fully committed, it doesn't matter when those distractions come up. Yeah. That's fine. We know those are going to be there. I'm going to figure a way around them. So that's what I think is really important. You get someone who's fully committed to make it work.
All in.
And they're all, yeah. I mean, you talk to all the top producers, and these people are. Yeah. And like we talked about earlier, you look at the different personalities. You can't pick out the top salespeople. You never. You put Noah in a room with like a Caden Blake and a bunch of people. You line them up and say, who are the top sellers in this group? You would never even know who to start with, because some of my closest friends who were the coolest guys that came out early on, some of them were terrible at this job. Yeah. and it is what it is. But they didn't. There were things that went into that factor that in and they didn't have success.
Yeah.
But man, that commitment, I would say for me, that's one of the most important things. I've committed people that are there working with for the same reason and motivated. Oh, it's just a lot of fun. Yeah.
Awesome. I took that to heart.
Being all in, right?
Yeah.
Being all in.
Hype us up, Jared.
What's that?
Hype us up.
Hype us up. I don't know about hype up, but as you were talking, I was just switching everything that I thought I'd say. But I'd say the coolest part about this job is not the cool. Well, it's one of them. For me, it is being able to. You hear all these podcasts and all these people say all these cool things about if you believe, you can achieve. If you spit all this, paint it out, write it down, then you'll achieve it. And you're like, that's all sounds cool, but you really could test that this summer. Like, dude, does that really work? And I want to say that I have seen it in my life. Like, write it out, goal, pondering on it. What do I want to achieve? And why do I want to achieve that? And then connecting that. I go back to the first summer working with Grant. I was in an office. We ended up going somewhere where we didn't plan because we couldn't get into the other area because of licensing. And I was with a bunch of guys who had had success the year before, and it was devastating to them. And they were like, "Oh, I can't sell here, man. This is not as good." And they'd go out, they would sell squat, and I was like, "What? How come you guys can't sell here? It's not bad at all." But I remember starting that summer, and I had a financial goal. I wrote it out, and I'm like, "I'm going to hit this no matter what." And it wasn't unreasonable. It was like realistic, and I believed I could hit it, and I knew what I needed to do to hit it. And so I made that goal, and every day I'm like, no matter what happens, I'm going to hit it. And we had all kinds of like move here, move there, couldn't work here, ended up having to split offices and go here. We had all these obstacles, all these hard obstacles happen. In fact, man, in the last state we were in, like the general, I remember Attorney General shut the alarm opportunity down. It's like you can't sell them, and we kept finding new ways to hit my goal. Summer ends, and I could have been like, dude, if that wouldn't have happened, the guy that recruited me telling me we're going to go here, and we didn't, I could have been a blamer. And I could have been like, man, we didn't succeed. But the coolest thing is my goal was hit within dollars, literally beat it by dollars. And I was like, no one can stop the man who knows where he's going, no matter what. And so you're going to have obstacles. You're going to have problems with the cops here and there in these little cities because some of these city council people are punks. You're gonna run into areas that are a little rough. You're gonna miss a channel here or there, and you're running an obstacle with not having a sport channel or whatever it is. But if you're like, nothing's going to stop me, and you want to try that experiment to see if it happens, you're gonna have a story you'll remember the rest of your life. You'll be able to tell your kids, you're like, just believe, have a goal, and say, I'm all in. And then just watch it manifest itself. Yeah. So I'd say if you want to experience it, go have it. Go make it happen because it'll happen. I've seen it.
Love it.
That's awesome. Cool. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate having me here.
Fun to be here with you.
Absolutely.